Hi. Good morning, everyone. I guess we've not seen each other. We've not seen ourselves for like I don't know, almost 2 weeks now. How was data first for those of you that attend? I know some of you volunteered. I kept getting mails that please and everything. So how was it? Those that went, those that volunteered, those that took pictures. None of you went for the event. I know I saw some pictures on Slack.
Yeah, maybe they are yet to join.
Okay, no problem. So today I'm not the one going to be taking you like I said today. I have I would like to describe Tina as someone that I've never met, but I respect her work. I respect what she's doing in the community. I respect storytelling ability. So I think we're very, very fortunate to have someone like her in our midst. And the fact that I'm not even paying her a dime and she's sacrificing 2 hours of her time for you guys really speaks a lot to our character and how much she likes to influence people. Um, we've never met face to face. I think she's the only person that I'm inviting for this program I've never met face to face. And I'm so excited to have her in our midst. I don't know if any one of you have met her. If you went to data first, definitely would have met her. She is very open, she's very accommodating. So will I say with a round of applause, or what will I say? Please help me welcome Tina to our midst. Thank you so much, Tina, for being here. Thank you so much for the time you're about to invest in everyone here. We are 15 now, but we go as high as 25. Sometimes we get to 30. So it depends on how today will look like. Um, Tina, are you there? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm
Yeah.
doing-
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Good
Oh,
morning.
I'm
I'm
going to my
super excited to be here.
I'm still in bed. I have this basic assignment to submit, so it's just taking everything from me. But Tina, no, you guys should give emojis to Tina. I need to see
They
more
are not,
encouragement.
they are not
Tina,
welcoming me
thank you
very
so much,
well.
Tina.
Okay, here
Thank
you
you
see,
for
I'm seeing
your
the
time.
emoji flying.
I am so excited to have you in our midst. I know that they will learn a lot, and I hope that they'll put it into practice everything they've learned, which they've been doing. To be honest, it has been a journey for like almost a month now, and I'm so excited to see the outcome of this teaching. Over to you, Tina.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here actually. And this is one of the things I love to do. An amazing thing you're doing here, actually, like gathering people, trying to provide some sort of mentorship. I tell people that this is not something that I was privileged. Yeah, I was privileged to like get, passive mentors. But when you have like direct mentors, people that are actually telling you that this is the way to go, this is how you should do it, and this is how to actually, transition into this career, it's actually a very, very amazing thing. And it's something that people pay big amounts of money to get. So nice stuff that you're doing on here. Today, what I'm going to be doing is probably we're going to talk briefly about data visualization. Then we're going to, go through a case study together. So I'm just so we don't waste a lot of time because having to work on a full blown project, how time taking that is. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll start this session. First of all, let me turn off my camera. At least you've seen the person that will be, the voice you'll be hearing for the next 2 hours. So Okay, I'll share my screen now, and then we can just start. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Please say something because I can't see the chat box. So let me know. By the way, this is going
I
to be
can
very
see the
interactive.
screen.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it. I think they can all see it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Cool. So just like I mentioned earlier on that we're going to be talking about data visualization briefly before we build a project. Before we start working on a project actually, or do a case study, trying to go through the whole data visualization process. So before I get into it, and for the benefit of those that probably are not familiar, if you use Twitter a lot and you're a data professional, I'm 90% sure that you might have come across my name on your TL, even if you don't know what I do, but you must have come across my name. But if you don't use Twitter, my name is Tina Okonkwo and I'm a data analyst. I also have like 3 years experience, like working experience across several industries, but I started working with data last year. I'm also a Microsoft certified professional. I have over 3 Microsoft certifications, and I've been training people, taking courses on Power BI, data visualization, and how to tell stories with your data. Now, for me, my goal is to actually, share my story, share my journey with a larger audience and help other people, kickstart their career in data analytics. And you can connect with me on Twitter. I'm Rita_Tina, and on LinkedIn, I'm Tina Okonkwo. Probably I might share these slides with Faith later on so that you can always maybe revert back to it. Okay, so now what is data visualization? Please confirm that everybody can hear me and everybody can still see my screen.
We can hear and see.
Okay, cool. Now, as data professionals, or let me streamline it to data analysts, as data analysts, one of the best ways that we can get people to pay attention to the work we do is through data visualizations, right? So it's just a way to like show people, rather than show people the numbers, like you want to show them, you want to draw people's attention to a particular point. Now, what is data visualization? It's just the process of using visual representation in the form of charts or graphs to actually communicate data. And it can be used to show, trends, patterns, relationship in data that you would rarely never see in large formats. If I show you a large spreadsheet, for example, and I tell you to tell me like the months that we made the largest sale, you wouldn't be able to clearly do that. But once I bring that data and I put it on, say, line chart, and I tell you, okay, what was the month we made the highest sale, you would easily pinpoint that, right? Now, what are the benefits, or why is it important to actually use data visualization? And one of them is improved communication. What data visualization will help you do as a data analyst is to help you communicate your data more effectively to whatever audience you're trying to listen. People tend to, it's easier for people to understand visuals than text. If I just like I mentioned earlier, if I put a large spreadsheet in front of you, it'll be difficult to actually pinpoint, the highest month, the months that will make the highest sales. So it's very easy for people to understand visuals than text. And one thing that it also helps us do is to highlight the most important points in our data. An example is the line chart I mentioned earlier on, that you can easily pinpoint that, okay, in January we made the highest sales. Another thing is increased engagement. What do I mean by increased engagement? Now, I'm still going to use the same example of large spreadsheets, right? If I give you large spreadsheets, you are seeing all the numbers and you cannot even remember any number. But if I'm just showing you like one single bar chart and I'm showing you that, okay, maybe we sell a particular range of products, say fruits, right? And I'm saying, okay, and on that chart you're seeing that orange is like the products that we're selling the most, or that we're making the most profit on. You can easily remember that. Like in the maybe tomorrow somebody is asking you that, oh, what product are we selling the most? You can quickly remember that, oh, it is orange that we're selling the most. So one thing visualization does is it helps you to tell stories and to also create some sort of, emotional connection with your audience. Then another thing is better decision making. Please, if my pace is if I'm going too fast, please just drop a message, right? Or let me know. I'll try to take it as slow as possible. Another thing is better decision making. Now, data visualization can actually help you make better decisions, because by the time you are seeing those trends and patterns, you already know where to focus on, right? Things that you would likely not see when you're looking at a large spreadsheet, but because you're already looking at this thing, you can already tell that, oh, there is a problem here. We need to put more strategy here. We need to focus on this particular product, or we need to focus on this particular location. That is something data visualization help you do as a data professional. Now, let's talk about the types of visualizations, or let me bring it down to, dashboards, right? Type of visualization. I always like to classify it based on two different things: by their form and by their function. And I'm going to be explaining briefly now by their form, how they look, right? How it's been presented. And under this by their form, I'm saying like you have different types of dashboard. You have the static dashboard, you have the interactive dashboards. Now, static dashboards or static reports, you already know that static means like at a particular place, right? You've written that story or you've derived that story. You're just telling your user or your audience that this is the information I want you to get from this particular report. An example of a static report might be like, okay, you just want to show like maybe Chelsea's trophies along the year or across the years, right? You're just telling you this is Chelsea's trophies, this is the amount of trophies they've won, or this is their their winnings across the year, like in form of a visual. Like you just have that as a static dashboard. Or an interactive report. Static dashboard most times are always like not so business case focused, right? But when it comes to interactive dashboard are mostly business case focused, something that you want your user to go to that dashboard or to that report and try to like get take a story. Like you want them to get their own story from there. I might do an interactive report and I put maybe filters, right? Slicers, say for year and for location. Somebody else might come there and just filter for maybe it's for all the location in the world, and somebody just comes and filter for Nigeria and filter for the year 2021, right? The story they are going to get from that data is different from somebody that comes and filter for Ghana and this thing. So it's almost as if you're telling your user, oh, come in here, do what you want to do and take your own story. But for the static, like, you're actually telling them that this is what I want you to do. And it's so this also leads me to like by function, right? I mentioned by function, and by function we classify it into exploratory or explanatory. And all these things, they are like how do I put this, like there's an intersect, right? Now, for your exploratory analysis can also be like interactive, because you're telling your user, come and explore, go through this thing and bring your own story from this particular dashboard, right? So an exploratory dashboard and interactive dashboard, they have that intersection. And same thing with explanatory dashboard. Now, for your explanatory dashboard, you're already explaining or you're already telling your user the story you want them to know, that, oh, in this particular year, or maybe you're putting like Chelsea's win in 2022, right? And you're saying, in this particular year, they won so amount of trophies. They were number so on the maybe leaderboard, something like that. You just want to tell them a story that this is exactly the story I'm telling you. Now, what are the things to actually keep in mind when creating a dashboard? Now, when creating a dashboard, we know like it's almost as if like there are two kinds of problems to solve. Now, what are the two kinds of problems? What to present and how to present it, right? This what to present phase is something I like to call like the dashboard planning and the dashboard planning phase. Why the other one, how to present, is kind of like the dashboard creation and the dashboard design kind of part. Now, what to present, this is where your understanding, research, planning, mocking comes into place. Understanding, it could be understanding your data, understanding your audience, right? You don't just want to go blindly. you're building a dashboard or you're building a report. Who am I building this report for? What is their purpose for using this report? What do they aim to? What questions do they look to answer from this report? What are their, what decision do they want to make with this report, right? Then you start doing your research. Once you have all those questions answered, you start doing your research. Okay, what are those things I need to put to enable them answer that question? What are the metrics that they would like to see? What are the important metrics in this particular industry and things like that? You start planning and you start doing a mock-up. Now the mock-up is where i I term as like building a wireframe. Is there a question before I proceed? Is there a question? Because I think somebody dropped a message, or if I should go ahead, please, somebody should just tell me, just nudge my attention. Okay, I'll carry on. I mentioned that the mock-up phase is where you kind of like build like a wireframe, right? You already know you already know the things, the questions you want to answer. You already know the important metrics, but how are you going to position these things, right? You create some sort of mock-up, like some sort of wireframe that you just put there, and how your dashboard is going to look like at the end. And then you move to the dashboard creation phase, or the dashboard design part of it. Now, this is where you're doing all of your analysis, your calculation, you're writing your formulas, trying to get the different calculations. Say, for example, they just gave you like the sales. You want to get like the total revenue, right? You're doing all those calculations. Then you go ahead and start bringing your visuals, your visualizations, and then you start formatting, either by changing the color, adding text box and shapes to make your dashboard look more richer. So that is that about types of visualization and things to keep in mind when creating a visualization. And I'm going to share like my own tips, and which is actually it's not generic per se, like, but it's tips for creating data visualization, right? The first thing you want to pay attention to, which I mentioned in the previous slide, is defining your purpose, right? Who is the audience? Who am I creating this dashboard for? The problem with a lot of people, when we want to create visualization, we tend to think of the design first, right? Oh, how am I going to design this dashboard? We don't think about the content, like what exactly is going to be in the dashboard. And anytime you try to think of design first, you just end up thinking, okay, how can I make this dashboard look more beautiful? What else do I need to put here that will make this dashboard look more? No, this shape is not looking good. Let me add this shape. But if you focus on the content first, it will help you not to lose track, right? So you have to define the purpose. You have to define like the audience of that particular dashboard. And just like I mentioned, if your content is not thought about thoroughly, you end up building maybe a beautiful rubbish, right? You end up building a beautiful rubbish that has little meaning to whatever business, and which means that the business cannot make any decision on that. Another thing you want to take note of is choosing the right metrics and choosing the right charts. Now, what do I mean by the right metrics? Whenever you get a data set, right, you want to research on that industry. Say, for example, it's a supply chain industry. You don't know anything about supply chain. You want to go and research, okay, supply chain, what are the metrics that are most important in this particular industry? I always tell people that if you've never worked with that kind of data before, something that would help is going to Google, right? There's nothing you won't find on Google. And Google, oh, supply chain dashboard, and you see lots of images on that particular industry, and it gives you an idea or a mental picture of how your dashboard should look like. Another thing is choosing the right charts. You want to show a trend of like a monthly trend, or you want to show maybe you want to show a monthly trend, right? And then you're using something like a pie chart. I don't understand, like, how do you expect your user to gain information from that particular thing? So you want to be sure that you're making use of the right charts at every point in time. And I always tell people, stay away from charts like your 3D charts. Stay away from your pie charts, in short. Like, when it's more than 4 categories, you don't want to use your pie chart, right? Another thing you should pay attention to is how to present your data effectively. As data analysts or as data professionals, we should know how to tell stories. Like, okay, I have all these calculations, so I've done all this visualization, let me just throw them in wherever I want to, right? You want to take your user, you want to be able to take your user on a journey. Say, for example, you are telling your user, or you are telling the executives in the company that this is the total sales we are making in this particular year, right? You want to move further to tell them that, okay, this is actually the sales trend, right? Over the years or over the months, right? This is how people are buying our products. In this month, we are making the most sale. There's a decline in this particular month. Then you are moving forward to say, okay, these are the products that are generating that sale for us, right? These are the products that people are buying the most. And you're moving further again to say these are the customers that are buying those products. And you want to go further to say this is the location of those customers. That's a beautiful, well thought story, right? Because your user is already, the person is already looking forward to the next thing you're going to present, because you're taking the user from point A to point B, right? That is something that you need to take note of. So you need to be able to present it effectively and tell a clear story. Another thing that you don't want to have is clutter and noise. What do I mean by clutter and noise? Sometimes we have dashboards, and then you just throw in a bunch of images that have little or no impact to your report, of all those images in your report, because what story is that image saying in your report, right? So you need to learn to eliminate clutter and noise. Those things just make your dashboard very noisy. Another thing is using layouts, right, to focus attention. And what do I mean by using layouts to focus attention? You need to have a very good layout when you're building your dashboard, because if not, your user is just confused, right? There's something I always tell people. We all know people read from left to right? And then there are different ways you can present your dashboard. It's either you want to go the Z pattern or you want to go the F pattern. Now, all this is that you are laying your key numbers, your important numbers on top, and then you are going below with a particular, a graph here, another graph here, and then you want to demarcate this graph either with a line, a white space, or you want to demarcate with a shape, right? Like a box, like, this particular visual is in this box, this particular. So you have those particular space. So that is using layout to, focus attention. And I think I've talked about telling a clear story. So I'm just going to move to my next slide here. So any question before we start talking about our case study, please? I'm going to give just 1 minute for questions. So by 10:23, we'll proceed. Any question at all?
No one has question. Nobody is lost. Are we all good?
Doesn't mean I'm talking to myself. Should I ask questions?
Yeah, we guys should engage
Should I
her
ask
now.
questions?
Unmute your mic and talk to her,
I
please.
think I'm going to ask questions because everybody is all clear. So I'm going to ask my own question. So what are the types of visualization? Just drop your response in the chat box. What are the types of visualization? I spoke about different types. So I think maybe up to 4. So let me know what are the types of visualization. Just drop them in the chat box. Okay, I see Tochuku's answer. Static, interactive. Okay, so everybody was following them. Okay, cool. Okay, that means everybody was following. Am I too fast? If I'm too fast, please let me know. Let's go through our case study now. What we're going to be working on, right? According to this case study, you'll be assuming the role of a BI consultant. By BI, I mean a business intelligence consultant. And this case study is actually like on a sales data set. And you've been hired by this company, Maven Toys, they are looking to expand their business with new stores, and they've brought you in to analyze their data and find interesting patterns and trends in their data to help them make informed decisions. And your task is to actually share a single page visual or dashboard that outlines a potential expansion plan and contains the supporting data from your analysis. So they've given us the data and they've told us that, oh, what we're trying to do is we want to actually expand, right? And we want you to analyze our data, find patterns and trends in this data so that we'll be able to make, good decisions. And they've also given us like a couple of analyses that they would like us to carry out, like, okay, what product categories drive the biggest profits? Is this actually the same across store locations? And can you find any seasonal trends or patterns in the sales data? Now, our data set is actually 4 tables, and these 4 tables are in CSV format. First of all, I would like to ask, who is familiar with Power BI? Is everybody familiar with Power BI? Let me know in the chat box. Is anybody familiar with Power BI? Okay, I'm getting to a response. Anybody? 3, 4. Okay, cool. Okay, Tochiko is not familiar with Power BI. Emmanuel is not familiar with Power BI. Don't worry, we're going to learn it together. It's very, very seamless to use. Don't worry, because that's the tool we're going to be working with today. But let's look at our data set first. Our data set contains 4 tables, right? In CSV format. We have the product table that contains like the products that this particular company sells. Then we have the stores table that contains like the store location of this particular company. Then we now have our sales table, which is like our facts table, right? That contains like all the units sold, all the products sold from January 2017 to October 2018. Then the last table is the inventory table that contains like records of the stock on hand of each product as at the date when they stopped collecting data. That is our data set. And for us to do this project, we are going to go through like some process, right? The first thing we want to try to do is, what is the objective of this particular project? What is this company trying to achieve with this analysis? Which is, according to what they say, they are trying to like, okay, expand, right? They want to expand, so they want you to look at trends so that you can tell them what particular location they should be looking to invest in more, or to be looking to create more stores. What particular location should they like maybe start offering discounts or doing some sort of promo to help like increase the engagement in that particular location. So it's kind of like an expansion plan for this business. The next thing we want to do is look at our data set, and we've kind of like done like a brief, right? We know that we have 4 tables, so we're trying to understand our data set, what is what, and what each column mean, and all of that. Then we'll move to our data cleaning process. I tried so hard. I didn't want the data that was very, very I don't think we'll do any cleaning on this data anyways, but yeah, that is one of the process when you're working on the report, the data cleaning process. Then we'll move to our data modeling phase, where we'll try to connect this data together, connect these tables together, because we have 4 different tables, right? Then we'll now move to our data analysis phase, where we're going to be creating our calculations, doing all those calculations and creating our measures and all of that. Then before we now move to the data visualization phase, and we have our reports, right? That is what we're going to be looking here. And I'm going to go to Power BI and try to bring in this data. So I'm just going to stop sharing this screen, and then I can share my entire screen now. Sure, I'll share the data set. I think it's in a drive. I've uploaded this in a drive already. Please just give me a minute. Let me be sure. So I'll just drop that link here, by the way, while the class is still going. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please you can just drop that while I'm waiting to drop this here. So let me know if you have any question. Any question at all? Okay, yeah, I think I did not upload that, but it's uploading now. So I'll share that in a jiffy. But meanwhile, I'm just going to share my screen. I'm going to stop sharing and share my entire screen. Okay, Tochukwu said, why should modeling come before analysis? So we have four different tables, right? We're going to see that when we go to Power BI. We have four different tables. When you're working with data in Power BI, you have to actually connect your tables together, which is what we call, based on a unique identifier, right? Based on their relationship, which is what we call data modeling. So you need to actually connect those tables together before you can actually work with that particular data, because if not, you're going to be doing standalone analysis, right? There's a relationship between your product, your customer, your sales table. Like, they have that relationship. You want to be able to analyze your sales by product, you want to analyze your sales by customers, and for you to be able to do that seamlessly, you need to actually model your data. Yes. Before you can analyze a data, you need to know the objective. Like, why is that? You don't just go ahead and say, like, wake up and say, I want to build a dashboard. You need to know what, as data analyst, you need to understand that your first assignment, or the idea behind analytics, is solving problems. You're trying to solve problems, whether for a business, whether whatever it is, but you're just trying, the end goal for you is to solve problems and enable whoever that is going to be using that report make a decision, come to a decision. So you need to know why you are building that data, why you are, because if not, you're just throwing in a bunch of charts and numbers on that dashboard without any clear meaning. Like I mentioned earlier, you're just building a beautiful rubbish, right? So you need to know the objective of that particular report. Who is going to be using it? Why am I building? What is the purpose of this report? What are they trying to achieve with this report? You need to actually understand all of that. So I hope this answers your question. Okay, let me share my entire screen now. Please, just a minute. I'm still with you. Okay, I think I can share this now. Oof, I don't know why this is taking. Okay, copy link. Okay, I've just shared a link to the drive that contains the data, and I think the slides that I just walked you through. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just for the benefit of those that have not worked with Power BI before, this is the first time they're seeing the Power BI interface, right? I'm just going to do a quick walk through this tool. So when you open the Power BI desktop, when you download Power BI on your system and you open your Power BI desktop for the very first time, you see this pop-up, right? And this pop-up just contains like maybe list of resources, tutorials, and a link to the Power BI forum or community. And also you get to see like the recent files that you were working with, right? But we don't have any need for listing, so I'm just going to close this pop-up and probably every other pop-up that I have on my Power BI at the moment. So now this is what we call the Power BI interface, and there are actually different sessions, right? Just like your every Microsoft product you come through, either you will come across, you'll see this tabs and ribbons here that contains like a list of commands that you can use to do something in Power BI. Then you also have these three things here that we call these three sections here that we call panes, right? The data pane is where you see any data that you bring into Power BI. Visualizations is where you get to select any visual you want to work with. And on this filter section, you get to filter your report and everything. But for us to start our analysis, the most important thing, or what we're going to be going through first, is the get. We're going to make use of our get data tab. And our data is CSV, is in CSV formats. There are different ways that we can actually bring this data into Power BI, right? But in this particular case, because we have 4 tables and I want to bring them in all at once, I'm going to be making use of the folder version. And so I'm going to come here, and when you're on your tab, just click on Get Data. Give me a moment. Let me just increase my mouse size so that, because I think it might be reflecting. Okay, I think this is more visible. So on your on this session, right, on your Power BI, what you want to do is come over here and click on Get Data. Now, we want to get data from our folder. So if we scroll through here, we're not going to see folder. We're just going to come down here to click on More, right? I'm going to click on More now. And then I see a list of different sources where I can get my data from. Power BI allows you to get data from different sources, like there are a lot. You can go through this in your own spare time. So what we're going to do is to try to get data from a folder, right? I'm going to select folder and I'm going to click on connect. So I'm trying to connect to that particular folder, and I'm just going to, it's going to give me this pop-up, and I want to go ahead and browse where that particular folder is in my system, right? So I'm just going to click on browse, and then I'm going to go to my PC, and I think I have that data in documents, and I want to scroll down to where I have that particular data, and I think I have it in this folder. So you just want to scroll down to where you have that particular data, and the data we're working with is this Maven Toys data. So I'm going to select that folder, this Maven Toys data. So just look for where you have the folder of that data, Maven Toys data, and I'm going to click on OK. And once I do that, I'm just going to click on OK. So what's going to happen here is it's going to bring up this pop-up page, like kind of like a navigation page. And I'm going to, as a data analyst or when working with data in Power BI, I always tell people, never ever click on load. You have to actually transform your data, right? Even if you've cleaned your data in a different with a different tool, you want to actually still go through your data to be sure that you have the right data types, or there's nothing wrong with your data. So what I'm going to do is to click on transform data. And once I click transform data, it's going to open the Power following. Is anybody lost? Okay, my network got disconnected. I wanted to be sure. Okay, I'll just carry on then. So just like I was talking about, we have 4 different tables, right? And we want to extract the data from these 4 different tables. And that's what we're going to try to do. That's what we're going to try to do here. Since we have 4 different tables, I'm going to duplicate this particular table to 4 because we want to extract these 4 tables. So what I'm going to do is right click. I'm going to right click on this, do duplicate, right click again, duplicate, right click again, duplicate. Then I have my 4 tables, right? And what I want to do is to rename all these tables. The first one I have there is my inventories table. So I'm going to call this inventory. The next one is products. Another one is sales.
And the last one is our stores. Now, what I'm going to do is try to extract all these table one after the other. So what I'm just going to do is on my inventory, I'm going to come to where I have my inventory, and I'm just going to click on binary. And once I do that, it extracts the table for my inventory. Now we can see our inventory table here. I'm going to go to products, and I'll do the same thing and just click on this to expand the table. And I have my product table. I'll go to sales, and I'll perform the same thing. Click on binary, and I have my data extracted. Go to my stores and click on binary. Now, if you notice this table though, you are seeing data dictionary here, right? We don't have any need for all this data dictionary, but you can always look at it if you want to understand your data better. But in terms of analysis, we will not be working with our data dictionary. So I'm just going to extract the last table, which is our stores table, and click on binary. Is everybody clear? Is anybody confused? Okay, so just to mention something before we proceed, if you are opening your own Power BI and you can't find these things here, just come to your view tab and then check the box for your column profile, column quality, and also your column distribution. You'll be able to see all these things here. Any question? Is anybody confused? Okay, Emmanuel, I see your hand is raised up. Please go ahead before we continue.
Yes. So if I get you, it means that all the CSV file, that is the inventory that we had, they all are in the data separately or what? Because if you click the binary, it opens up a different perspective for each of them. So I want to ask, are they different data sets, or is just one data set but comes in different files?
So there, it's actually the same data but different tables, right? Let me explain it that way. Different tables. Say for example, you're working in an organization now, the products department, like you have a kind of like an inventory of your products, right? You know, like, okay, these are the number of products I'm selling, or this is the price of the product I'm selling, these are the names of my products. So you have that product table, right? That product database. You also have a database kind of like for your customers that contains like customer information, right? That is another data, right? That's customer data. Then say you now have like location, or maybe your companies, like where all of your companies are located, or your stores, right? You have that a particular data, that's like your store database. Now you now have another database that contains anytime a customer comes to buy a product, right? You have that particular you take that you collect that particular data, right? All these things are in different database, right? But for you to create or do an analysis, you have to connect all these tables together. So they are actually different tables but the same data, like the same information per se, or something like that. I don't know if I'm clear. Is this clear now? Have I been able to
So
answer your
if I
question?
get you well, it means that
Mhm.
they are all in the same data set, but they have let me say different tables under them. That is, in the data set we have one of the data is inventory. We
One of the
have
data is like
inventory
the
there.
customer. Yes, yes,
Yes. Oh, okay. But the same data
exactly.
set, but they have okay. All
Yes,
right. Thank you.
exactly. That is what it means. Okay, so somebody's asking why we have to click on binary. So all these data are actually in one place, right? We have to actually, split them into. This is just one process. You can decide to bring in this data one after the other, but I always look at it in the case of like, okay, I have like maybe 10 different tables. Do I have to go click, bring? So it's just easier for me to, bring in that data from it, like put it in a folder, bring it in, and then duplicate all the tables I need and get that particular data. So you can decide to just go in and bring in every CSV one after the other, if you get what I mean. So you just go do your get data, you bring in the particular table you need, go again, do your get data, bring in the particular table you need. Just for let me just do a quick example, and then we can just let me see now. So I click on my get data, right? and I go to my text or CSV, and then I go to where I have that data, click on it, and then I want to bring in the first table, which is my inventory, and I click on open. It's going to bring in this data, right? I put it into my Power Query, I go back again, bring in the second one, go back again, bring in, like, that is another method to bring in this data, right? But I just wanted to bring in the 4 tables, and I'm sure a lot of people are not very, very conversant with this method. So I wanted to go through that so that you'll be able to learn something new as well. So that's just one method to bring in the data. Are we all good? Can we proceed? Okay, sure. Tochiko, you might want to tell us where you got lost so that we can find you. Or so maybe I can find you. All right, so let's look through this data one after the other. Okay, Tochiko, I can hear you. Are you speaking?
Yeah, I'm speaking. So I got lost
Okay,
at the
sure.
point
Go
where you
ahead.
were, that's after you uploaded the data, clicking the whole binary,
Okay.
copying, and the rest of them. So yeah.
Okay. So what we did when we brought in this data, right? We duplicated the main data, like kind of like you just click on to duplicate data, make sure that data is selected. You right click and you find duplicate. Because I have 4 different tables, I duplicated them into 4 different tables, right? And I just renamed them with my data name. And then when you look at that first thing you see, when you click on, okay, let me use this one to do example. Here on Power Query, you can see applied steps, right? Whatever transformation you make here, you're going to see it on your applied step method. And I'm just going to delete all this so that we can go back to that main page and you understand what we did. So I'm going to delete this and let's see the thing that we brought in. Okay, fine. Now, when we brought in that data, right, we add this metadata. That's what I like to call this metadata, right? And our data is stored in this particular binary file here. So once we click the binary file, it expands our table and we get to see all of our table, right? That's why we're actually clicking on the binary. So when you see your data, if you want to extract the inventory data, just where you have your binary, once you click on the binary, it extracts the data for that inventory table. I don't know if this is clear now. So what we just did was duplicate our data, renamed it, and started importing it one after the other, or removing it from the binary one after the other. I don't know if this is clear now. Is this clear now? Okay, cool. So we're just going to proceed. Okay, what we want to try to do now is try to inspect our data to be sure that they have the correct data type, right? If you look at this is the store ID, right? Which is like kind of like an identification number of the particular store and everything. But when it comes to identification numbers or identification this thing, because I know I can't multiply or I can't add 2 identification numbers together to give me something like reasonable, right? Say for example, my ID number is 123 and your ID number is 345. I cannot add my ID number. If I add my ID number and your ID number, it gives me like the result is not useful to me. Like it's of no use. So I like to always convert this to a text data type rather than number, right? So it doesn't have that summation or anything, right? So I'm just going now to change the data type. There are different ways or different approach you can go. You can just I'm sure we all know what data types are, right? Now in Power BI there are different data types. We have like number data type, that's a numerical whole number or decimal. Then we have text data type. We also have like percentage. Then we have the date time and binary data type, like your true or false, right? So what we're going to do to change the data type is to click on this 1 2 3 you are seeing by the side is the data type of this column. Is either you click on this and just scroll down to maybe text, or you right click and do change type. You right click and you see change type and you just want to select your text data type. Now that is one way to do to change your data type here in Power Query. You might want to do the same thing for your product ID as well. Change it to text and this thing. You can decide to just leave it like that. It's not like maybe it affects anything or but I actually, when it comes to numbers. Say for example, I have phone numbers or account numbers, a column here, right? It's going to show me as number because they're actually in number format. But if I add my phone number and your phone number, does it give me anything reasonable? No. So I just like to change those kind of data as text data type. We're going to go to our products table and kind of like try to look through as well, right? To be sure that we have the correct data type. And the same thing we did for the previous column where we change this to a text. I'm going to right click and I want to change this to my text data type, and I'm just going to add a new step there. So we want to look through. If I'm looking at my product name, it has the correct data type, which is the text data type. If I'm looking at my product category, please let me know, am I moving too fast? Am I moving too fast? Give me a thumbs up
No.
if we should just go ahead. Okay, cool. Okay, so moving on, if you look at our product name, right, we have this one as a text data type. If we look at our products category, we also have that as a text data type, which is correct. Now let's look at our product costs. We are seeing that this is actually like amount, right? Like this is supposed to be in dollars, like, but we're seeing this as text data type. Same thing with our price. So what we're going to try to do is take out that dollar sign from this particular column, take it out from this particular column. Now there's a way to, you can decide to do it one after the other, but in this particular case we're going to do both of them at the same time. And how are we going to do it? We're going to select the first column and select the second column, and we're going to be making use of what we call replace value, right? What do we want to replace? We want to replace this particular dollar sign. We want to remove it. So I'm just going to right click, and what I want to do is replace value. So you control select the both of them and then click on replace values. Now when you click on replace values, it's going to tell you, you see, one thing I like about Power BI is that every data cleaning you're going to be doing here, it can be achieved with just a single click of a particular button. That is it. So what you want to do now is, what is the value we want to find? We want to find this pop-up box is going to come out and it's going to tell you that what is the value you want to find and what do you want to replace it with. And what is the value we are trying to find in this data is our dollar sign, right? I want to be sure I'm selecting the right thing. And then want to replace that with nothing. Now you can see that we that has actually automatically removed. We don't have that dollar sign here again. Now that we don't have that dollar sign again, we are going to, is that clear or should I take it again? Let me know if I should take that again, the replace value, what we did here. If it's clear for everybody, please just let me know. Okay, to choose both column, use control select both, like just hold on one, then control select, and then you right click and do replace values, right? And you type in that the dollar sign and then you want to replace it with nothing. Now that we've done that, we want to change the data type, right, from text to decimal number. So I'm going to come here and instead of this thing, I'm going to pick fixed decimal number because this is like in currency, right? So I'm going to come here and also pick fixed decimal number. So I've been able to change that particular column from text to numerical data type. Then we're going to move to our next one, which is our sales, right? Now on the sales, I have this also as the number, and which I'm going to change to text. And I'm just going to add a new step, right? So we're changing this from number to text. We have this as our date table, our date data type, which is correct. Our store ID, I want to change this as well to the text data type. Okay. Faith, I think your hand is raised, and
Yeah, yeah,
Emmanuel.
yeah. I wanted to say that it's okay after like some minutes. You could take like 5 minutes break or something. So
Yeah, sure.
nobody,
I was going to take a break.
nobody leaves. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nobody leaves the meeting, but we could just so that we can. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I want
okay.
to actually take a break now. I was waiting for 10:55, so we can just take like a 5 minutes break, and then by 11 we'll continue the class. But
All
meanwhile,
right.
if you have any question, just maybe you can just be thinking about your question. So when we start the class again, you can ask your questions. I'll take that. So if you want to stretch your okay, any question from anybody before we continue the class? Okay, Manuel, you raise your hand. Please go ahead.
Yes, before the break, I had a question. When you were analyzing the data, I wanted to know where specifically you're able to see that this particular data is a text, it's numbers, or then before you change it to the particular data that you want. Where
Okay,
is it in the Power BI that you're able to see that it's a text, it's a number, it's a percentage, or
okay. So basically, looking at your table, right? If you have a column in your table, say for example in your customer database, please let me know if I'm still audible enough.
yes, please.
Okay, so when you're looking at, you have your customer database, for example, right? And you have a column that contains customer name. Like it is very, very clear that customer name is written in text, right? My name is Tina, and Tina is like a text data type, right? So that is how you just know this is particular. When you see location, so you already know location is a text data type, right? Say for example, you see postal code. Now, postal code would be in numbers, but I mentioned something that when you have such numerical data type and you cannot add two of those numbers to give you a reasonable meaning, it's just best to leave it as text data type. So in that case, I would be changing something like my postal code to a text data type. So I don't know if this is clear now.
I get you, but I mean, after you change it to, let me say, from text to numbers, is there anywhere
Mhm.
within the Power BI that you're able to see that this particular text is now not a text but a number? I mean, any
Yes,
section within the
yes.
tab,
You
or
can clearly see. Look at this tiny. Can you see my screen? Are you seeing this button here? Are you seeing this ABC you have here, right? Now,
yes,
when you
yes.
see this ABC here, it shows you that this is a text data type. If I come
Oh,
click
okay.
on this ABC and I change it to, let's say I change this to O number now, you see it changes from, let me see, add new step. You see it changes from the text to number, right? You're seeing 1, 2, 3 now. You're no longer as ABC. Are you seeing that?
Y-
Is this clear now?
yes, it's clear.
Okay. Please any other question so that I'm sure that everybody is carried along. Okay. Somebody asked on what basis do we change the type of data? I didn't actually understand that. So I don't know if maybe when I was explaining when you have a customer name, right, you can clearly tell that it is text data type. When you have something in number, you already know that it is a numerical data type, right? But there are just rare cases where something is in number, but you know this thing is not like you when you sum it up or when you perform analysis on this thing, it has no clear meaning. One thing I'll just advise you guys to do is maybe read on data types and you'll be able to understand where what we mean by data type, so we don't spend a lot of time trying to dwell on the whole data type. I'm sure when you just read about or research about it, you will clearly understand what we're trying to do in Power BI. So I think we've successfully changed this. So let's talk about the product ID now. And I'm going to change that to, because it's an ID number, I'm just going to change that to text data type. Remember I said you can leave it as it is, The only reason why I'm trying to, I'm going to explain it when we even get to Power BI desktop. The only reason why I always like changing this is because when you go to your Power BI, when you are seeing an overview of your data, you likely see this summation sign in front showing you that, okay, this is numbers. You can perform addition or you can perform subtraction and whatever, right, on this particular data. So I always don't want it to show like that. That is why I tend to change it most times. So now our unit is actually in number data type, which is actually clear here, and we can see that here. And we'll move to our last table. If you look at our data set, we don't have any empties, right? We have all valid. If there was an empty row, you would have seen empty, maybe this thing, but we don't have any empties in our data. So now on our last table, I'm also going to do the same thing to our store ID, just like we've done for everything. Change it to a text data type, and I'm going to add new step. Okay, so I think every other thing is correct. This is our text data type, store city, store location, and open date. So I want us to look at this store name. There's something you will notice if I click on this drop down now. So we'll just see all our data, right? You're seeing Maven Toys this, Maven Toys that, Maven Toys, like we have this Maven Toys, then the name of the store, right? Maven Toys this store, Maven Toys this store. But I don't want to see that. We already know that it's Maven Toys, right? I don't want to see this Maven Toys there again. So something we are going to try to do is split this column and remove the Maven Toys, or just replace this. Where we want to say, okay, wherever there's any Maven Toys, remove it. We don't want to see it in this particular table. So we're going to use the replace value function again. And how are we going to do that? We're going to right click on that table and come to your replace values. Now, what values are we replacing? We're replacing Maven Toys, right? So I'm just going to type Maven Toys, and remember there was a space in front, and I want to replace it with nothing, and I'm going to click on OK. Now, merely looking at your data, you can tell that Maven Toys is no longer there. We've successfully removed it from this particular table, right? We've successfully removed that from that particular column, rather. So I think we've done quite a like we've touched the data types to an extent to the last table. Something I want us to now pay attention to is our sales table. Okay, now I want us to look at our sales table, right? If you look at this, our sales table, which is actually our facts table that contains like all the occurrences, right? You can see that we have units here, but we have product ID, but we don't have like price, we don't have any other thing. We need to be able to like perform calculation, right? So we want to find our total sales and everything. So what we're going to do is to bring in our product price from this table. That's we're going to bring in our product price and our product cost from this table, and we're going to bring it to this particular table, to our sales table. That's what we're going to do. And how are we going to do this? We're going to make use of something we call merge in Power BI. So I'm going to go to my transform tab. I want to click on my transform tab here. Up here, I'm clicking on my transform tab, and I want to go to merge columns, right? That's what we want to do here. Please give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. We're just going to proceed. So I said we need to bring in our, we don't have, yeah, we have our units, but we don't have our product cost, we don't have our product price, and we're going to try to bring that in here, right, from our product table, since we have that in our product table, so that we can perform our calculations seamlessly. So what we're going to be making use of is the merge columns. That's what we're going to be using, right? So we're going to be merging our sales table and our product table together. That's what we're going to be doing, right? And I'm just going to go ahead and click on, sorry. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and select merge columns, right? We want to merge. Sorry, please, just a moment. Okay, so on my sales table, I'm just going to go ahead to, I want to merge this sales and this product table together. So I'm going to click on my merge. And what merge does is similar to joins in SQL, right? That is what merge is all about. So we just want to merge the table. We're going to the two tables. Like I'm trying to bring in my product price and my product cost into this particular table. And just like how we have, your inner left join and all those things in this thing, you also have the same in your Power BI when you're using merge. So what you want to do is to select the table you want to merge with here. So I'm going to come to this drop down. What I want to merge is products, right? And I want to just click on what particular what's the unique identifier that both tables have is the product ID, right? So I'm going to select the product ID here, select the product ID here, and I'm just going to click on OK. And once I do that, I have a new column here, right, that contains the product table. And I'm going to try to expand that. And it's going to ask me to select the columns that I actually need. And on this particular place, the columns I need are actually the product cost and the product price, right? So I'm going to uncheck this box for select all columns. And what I want to select is my product cost and my product price. And I'm going to click on OK. And if you look at this table now, you can see your product cost here and your product price here. Is that clear? Any question? Is this clear to everybody? Okay, so we're just going to proceed. Please let me know if you are still following. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do now that we have our product cost and our product price here, now we can easily tell we'll be able to calculate how much it costs to make this particular unit of product and how much it costs to sell that particular unit of product, right? So something we want to do is to add a new column that contains, okay, how much did it cost to sell this particular unit of product. And to do that, we'll go to our add column. Once we go to add column, we're going to select this column and select our units column. And then what we want to do is use our standard here to do a multiplication, right? Because to calculate the units, you have to multiply the units of the product, like that's the quantity multiplied by the cost, right? So we're going to use multiplication, and then it adds an entirely new column here, and I'm just going to call this total product cost. So total cost. And then another thing we want to do is find the total price too, right? So we're going to select, when you want to select two columns, you hold your control and select the column, hold control and select our product price. Make sure you're on the add column tab, right, before you go to your calculation. And then what you want to do is to go to your standard and you do multiplication. And then it does that multiplication here, and then you'd write your total price. Now, mind you, you can also do this calculation using DAX, right? But it's always good to minimize the amount of DAX you can write. And if possible, do like most of your transformation in your Power Query. So that is why we're doing all this here. Okay, so now we have our total cost, we have our total price. We have our total price. So another thing we want to find out, right, is, okay, how much profit did we actually make in this product? So we're going to minus, like subtract our cost from our price, right, to find our total profit. And I'm going to select the price first and select the cost, and then I'm going to click on still the same standard, and I'm going to do subtract, and you can see that subtraction here, and we're going to call this our profit. Now that we have done all this calculation here, the next thing to do is to close and apply, and we're going to send this to our Power BI desktop. That's what we're going to do now. We have our product price here, we have our cost, we have our profit. So I'm just going to go over to my home tab, and then what I want to do is to click on close and apply. So if I click on apply, it applies my changes to my Power BI desktop, but it doesn't close Power Query. But when I click close and apply, it closes the Power Query editor and takes me straight to my Power BI desktop, and with all of my changes, right? So we're just going to wait for a few minutes for those changes to apply, of our data to load. Meanwhile, any questions at all? Any question at all? Any question from anybody? Is it confusing? Am I too fast? Okay, so we're just going to wait for that data to load. Okay, so I think we can proceed. So now that we have our data in Power BI, right? What we're going to do is go and look at, we're going to go to our model view. Somebody asked the question about why we need to like do our data modeling first. And something Power BI does is it automatically detects the relationship between your tables, right? So this is what we call a data model. So it has automatically connected those tables together. So now that our data modeling has already been done, we're going to go back to our report view back. And the first thing we are going to do is to create like a measures table that is going to house all of our calculations. Please, I'd like to plead with everyone to permit me. I might be a little bit slower than usual. I'm a bit under the weather, so please just permit me. So now what we're going to do is to click on enter data. We're going to try to create a new table for our measures table, right? I'm going to click on enter data. And what I want to do is this table I want to create, I want to name it my measures table. And I'm just going to click on load. Now, once I create that table, you can see it here. Now, this measures table is what is going to house all of our calculations that we're going to be doing in this particular place. So another thing, we're going to be writing a couple of calculations, DAX, and also, creating tables and writing formulas, right? That's what we're going to be doing now. And we're going to start with creating our date table. So to create our date table, we're going to go to our table view, right? That is this table icon on the, like what you can see here, we have these three views, right? We're going to go to this particular view over here. And in our table view, what we want to do is we want to create a new table, which is our date table, right? And we're going to select new table. Now, to create your date table, we make use of a function in Power BI called the calendar auto. That's what we're going to be using. So I'm just going to call this table, I'm going to rename it to dates. And we're going to make use of our calendar auto function. So I'm going to type calendar auto, and you see it here. Once I click on that calendar auto, it's going to bring up like, okay, what do you want to this thing? But you can always leave it empty, right? And I'm going to click on enter. Now, what calendar auto does is, excuse me, what calendar auto does is that it looks through your entire data set and it picks like the oldest date and the earliest date in your data set. So that is what calendar auto does. Now we have our calendar table, but we still need to, like, because we're going to be doing some monthly analysis, quarterly analysis, and yearly analysis. So we need to extract all those things from this particular table, right? to extract our year column, what we're going to do is to create a new table. We're going to add a new column to this particular data. So I'm just going to click on new column. I'm just going to click on new column. And what I want to do is to call this my year column. And I'm going to be using the year function to extract that. And I'm using my dates table. That's this date that I just created here, right? So I'm going to be using the dates table. So what we're selecting is our dates table, and I'm going to close that bracket, dates table and dates column. So what you just have here is your dates table, your dates column, and you click on enter. And you can see that successfully extracted year from this particular column. So another thing we're going to try to extract is the month column. So I'm going to do new column again. And what I want to type is my month, right? So I'm going to rename this to be months. So now I don't want to get the month number, right? I want to get the, what I want to get is the month name. So what I'm going to be making use of is I'm going to use my format, dates column. And if you want to use this thing, once you follow what you already have here, can already tell you how do you want to put it, what do you want to do. Now, what format do I want it to be in? I want it to be in like words, right? So I'm going to use the quotation mark, then and close and click on my enter. You're going to see it's going to successfully extract the month name from this particular from the dates column. Now, if you want to learn more about doing this, you can always do your research, right? What we're trying to do is to create our calendar table. That's what we're trying to do here. Now, another thing we can try to extract as well is our quarter. But meanwhile, I'm going to just try and extract the month number as well, because we will need to actually sort our column so that it's in ascending order, right? Or it's in the orderly format, like that's from January to December, and not just in alphabetical format. So what I'm going to do is add a new column that I'm going to call my month number. Which is going to be the month function, and the dates. And then I'm just going to close that bracket and click on my enter. So I have the month number here, right? And the last one we are going to extract is quarter. Now, to extract quarter, we're just going to follow the same thing we did for the months, but this time around we're going to change this to Q, right? So I'm just going to copy this, Control C, and then do new column again. And then what I want to do is Control V. And then instead of months, I'm going to rename this to quarter. And then instead of my what this is going to be is I'm just going to put a forward slash, then my Q. So I have this as quarter one. Oh, sorry. That's okay, good. So now we have our date table. One last thing to do in this particular place is to mark this as our date table so that Power Query knows that, or Power BI knows that this is actually our date table, right? So I'm going to go to my table tools and mark as date table, and then select what column, our dates column, and click on OK. So for every time I reference this, Power BI knows that this is my date table. Is any question? Is anybody confused? Okay, now the reason why I'm using a forward slash is to write that. The reason why I'm using a forward slash is to get that Q in front, right? Anything I put forward slash, if I put forward slash quarter, then my Q, you're going to see it as quarter one. If I don't put that forward slash, you're just going to see 1 1 1 1 1 or 1 2 3 4. But I want to have so that we know that it's quarter one, quarter two. That is why I put that forward slash Q. Is this clear? Does it answer your question? Okay, any other question, please? Okay, I'm just going to proceed, and then we'll go back to our report view now that we have our date table. Excuse me. Now that we have our date table, we're going to go to our measures table, and we're going to try to start creating some of the calculation now, putting at the back of our mind the objective for our report, right? Now for the objective of our report, we want to see like they're trying to expand their sales, right? And we want to kind of like explore this data. They also give us like some recommended analysis that we'll be doing. And now something we can do is to maybe draft out a couple of questions we also want to answer by ourselves. But in this particular case, and for the sake of time, we're just going to like proceed and work with the questions that have been given to us already. And to answer these questions, some of the things we're going to be creating are some KPIs, right? We want to find out our total sales, we want to find out our total profits. We also want to find out like, okay, what is our how much are we making by this time last year? What is our percentage growth, and some other important numbers like that, which is what we're going to be doing in a couple of minutes. Now, the first thing we're going to try to create is our total revenue. We want to find out how much we are making, right? And to do that, we're going to sum all of our revenues. Now, there are different ways we can decide to sum of all our price. There are different ways we can achieve that, right? Is by actually maybe creating a measure where we use the sum function to sum our price column, or we just use the calculation that Power BI automatically sorry Power BI automatically generates for us, right? Which is like an implicit measure. But in this case, we are going to use our explicit measure by clicking on new measure, and we're using the sum function. So what I want to do is we're going to rename this, and we're going to call it our total revenue. Total total revenue, which is equals to our sum. We're using the sum function of our price, like right, our total price. So the price we are using is the price in our sales table, so total price, and then I'm just going to click on my enter. Now if I bring this total revenue here and I place it here and I bring a card visual, you clearly see the total revenue that was made, right? But this is actually in a wrong currency, because we know the data given to us was in dollars, right? We need to make that change. So how do we do that? I'm going to click on my total revenue and come to this particular place where you have your dollar sign and click on dollar sign to change this. Another thing I want to do is, I don't want it to abbreviate, I want to see the figures, right? So I'm going to come over to my format over here. I want to see my call out value and change it from auto to none. Once I do that, I'm going to expand this so that we can see everything. I'm going to remove the decimal numbers. I don't want to see this decimal there, so I'm just going to change that to 0. Now you can see the total revenue that was made, right? That is one important figure that we've gotten here. Another thing we're going to look at is, let's find out the total profits that we actually made. So I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to hide this column that we have here so that it's indicated that this is our measures table. So I'm going to hide this column here. I'm just right clicking and click on hide. So we're just seeing only our measures there. So the same thing, to create a measure, what you want to do is click on these 3 dots here, do your new measure, and want to find the sum of our, like our total profit, right? So total profits. Which is equals to sum of our profits. And I'm going to click on my enter. Now that we have our profits, I'm going to bring it on another card visual. So let me just do a Control C and Control V, right? I'm duplicating this one, and then I want to just bring in that total profit. So rather than the total revenue, let me also visualize my total profit, and we can see the total profit. And we're also going to change this so it has the dollar currency instead. Now, something I want us to do now is, I want us to compare, like, okay, how are we doing, like, compared to last year, right? Like, let's find out compared to last year, how well are we doing. So one thing I want to do is, let me bring in a table here so we can look at we can just explore our data briefly. So I'm just going to bring in my any question.
Hiya. I was wondering, do you want to take a break? Are you good?
Okay, so I think we can continue, right?
Yes.
So we successfully gotten our total revenue and our total profit, but I wanted us to do like a quick exploratory analysis here. I want us to see our total revenue in 2021 and in 20 sorry, in the 2 years that we have on our data. So I'm going to bring in, sorry. Okay. So something we didn't do here was to connect our date table to our facts table. So I'm going to do that here. So I'm just going to come to my modeling view so we can connect that date table to our fact table here. So I'm just going to drag this and then connect this date with this date. So that's what we're trying to do here. So to do that, you just select the date here, drag it, and place it on top of the date here. So I've successfully connected that date now, and I'll go back to my report view. Okay, I used to do this. Bring in months. Okay, now here's what I want us to do. I want us to look at this particular, I'm going to sort this so we can see it from January to December. And how do we do that? Let's go back to our date table. And what I want to do right now is to sort this particular month by this month number, right? So that is it's appearing from January to December. So I'm going to click on my sort column and I'm going to sort it by month number. Now, if I go back to my report view, you can see that it has sorted from January to December now. Now, here's what I want us to pay attention to. Let me increase. I don't know if you can see my screen clearly. I'm sure everybody can see what I have here. I'm sure everybody can see my screen clearly. If you can see it clearly, please just say something so I know it's visible enough for everybody. Okay, let me increase again. How about now? Is it visible enough? Okay, cool. Okay, now I want us to look at this particular data, right? So if we want to, for example, what this is showing us now, this is our like total revenue in 2017 and our total revenue in 2018. But you can see that this data actually ended, like we don't have the total revenue in October, right? Now, if we want to do a comparison of 2018 and 2017, it's going to look like in 2017 we made more sales than 2018, right? Whereas it's not the case because 2018 is not a complete year, right? Now I'm going to try to do something. Now let me filter so we can only see up till September here. So I'm going to change this month. And I don't want to see October, November, December now. Okay, now if you look at it now, you can see as at September rather, we're making more sales in 2018 more than 2017. But if we had gone with just doing like a 2018 against 2017, would have seen like you would have gotten an inaccurate result, right? So you have to pay attention to your data set when it comes to analyzing and exploring your data set. So for us to find the percentage difference or percentage growth, what we are going to be making use of is okay. Now to do that, we're going to use something we call year-to-date revenue, right? So what I'm going to do is to come to my measures table, right click, and I want to do new measure. And we're going to be making use of our YTD function in Power BI. We're going to be making use of our YTD function in Power BI, and I'm going to call this our YTD revenue. Okay, first of all, okay, let me just do this. YTD revenue equal to let me stop filtering for this, select all so that I see all my data. I want to clear the filter. Okay, better. Okay, I've done that. Now, YTD revenue. Do I have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to say,
Okay.
so I have a class in like 10 minutes. I don't know how. Yeah,
Okay.
but I still want to record this to the end. I don't know how I'm gonna like do it. So I'm just trying to figure out if there's any way forward from any other person in the class because I'm the one recording it, and if I go off, I feel like the other part of your lectures will be cut off. So I don't know how.
I don't know if it's going to stop if you leave. I don't know. Because when you want to leave the meeting, it asks if you want to stop recording or if you want to end it.
Oh, okay, it does.
Yeah, I think it does. So have
Let
you
me
tried?
try. Let me
Yeah.
just try. Yeah.
Just try so we know we're all good on that part.
So it was still recorded even though I left, right?
Yeah. Yes, he was
Okay.
still recording.
Thank you so much. I don't even know how to thank you enough. I'm very grateful. I know it's like that. I don't think I've taught them up to more than 2 hours. I honestly have done is an hour, 30 minutes, but like I'm super grateful. I'll catch you up on Twitter. Um,
Okay, no problem. All right. Please, do
thanks.
we have any questions so far?
I should be supportive towards her, try to talk to her because talking for this long is not easy, to be honest. So unmute your mic, engage her so she doesn't get tired or feel like she's just alone in it. Yeah, I will get back to you all on Slack, and then I will upload the our talk on YouTube as usual. Yeah, I really do appreciate everyone here. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
All right. Thank you, Faith. Okay. Do we have any question from anybody? Is anybody confused? Is it too difficult to follow through? Okay. So we're going to go back to our visual. And what we're going to try to do right now is calculate our year-to-date revenue, right? And for our year-to-date revenue, we're going to be making use of the total YTD function in Power BI. So I'm going to click on total YTD of my total revenue. And for my time period, right, which is my date table, because I'm making use of my date table. And I'm just going to close that bracket. Oops. Okay. And if I bring this here on a card visual, you can see our total year-to-date revenue, which is what we have here, right? 6.9 million, which is what we have here. Now that is how to calculate your total Y-to-date revenue. So if I filter for another thing, we're going to now we can calculate our previous year just from knowing our Y-to-date, and we're going to be making use of the previous, like we're going to use this Y-to-date to calculate our previous, and we're going to call it previous Y-to-date. So a new measure that I'm going to call previous YTD equals to, what we want to do now is to calculate our Y-to-date by this time last year, right? So we're going to be making use of the same period last year function in this case. So we're using our calculate function. We are calculating our total revenue, which is we're using our YTD revenue, right? Our YTD revenue, comma, same period last year for our date table. And I'm going to click on my enter. And if I bring that to my card visual as well, you can see that here, that this is the amount we're making last year. Now, what I'm going to try to do is to, what I'm going to try to do now is to find out the percentage difference, right? Like, did we grow positively or did we grow negatively? And we're going to create another measure to do that. And we're going to call that our year on year difference, and I'm going to click on this new measure. And what I want to do is YOY difference. And what we are doing is to divide our year-to-date revenue. That's we are dividing the subtraction of our previous Y-to-date from our year-to-date revenue by our previous year-to-date revenue. So want to divide, like want to find the difference, right? Is by dividing this year minus last year divided by last year. That's how we're going to find the growth. So what I'm going to do is divide. I'm going to use my divide function. I'm saying divide year-to-date revenue minus previous year-to-date, then my denominator will be my previous year-to-date, and I'm just going to close that bracket and click on my enter, right? Now that we have that particular difference, I'm going to delete this table. I just wanted to use that as a reference so we understand why we're doing all this YTD. So I'm removing that table. Okay. Now that I have my previous year to date, let me put in the percentage that we've calculated. That's our year-over-year difference, right? And we'll click on card visual. Now, this is actually supposed to be in percentage, right? Because we are doing difference. So what I'm going to do is select that year-over-year difference and come and pick percentage. Or in this thing, I can do multiply by 100, but I'll just put it here. So you can see the year-over-year difference, which is actually negative, right? Which is actually negative. Did I use this thing? Let me see if I'm using this thing. Year-to-date revenue minus previous year-to-date. Okay. 6, 9, previous year 7. Okay. Okay. Now there's something, if you notice what's going on here, it calculated for even all the years. I'm going to bring back that table again. Let's check something so we are sure that we're doing the right thing, right? Let me bring back that table again. Sorry, a matrix. Use a matrix. Then I'm bringing my year, my months. I just want to bring back that table so we are sure that we're seeing the right thing. My year, total revenue. Okay. Okay, now you can see it's calculating for all the whole year. What we actually want to see is just up until this particular point. So, and it might be because of if you go to our date table, right? Our date table is actually calculating like up until the end of our date table went to the end of December. That's the end of the year. That's why we're getting that. If I scroll all the way down, you will notice that it is up to December. That is what we have in our date table, right? That's what we have here. So one thing we are going to try to do is create a new column that will just specify where our date is not particularly complete. That's something we're going to try to do here. So I'm going to create a new column here. And I want to call this column sales dates only. Oh God. New column. I'm going to call this my sales dates only. And I want to write a function that says if my if the date is actually greater than the maximum date, like it should replace it with something else, right? I'm just going to use an if function here and write a formula. If the dates, that's if my date table is less than or equal to the highest sales dates, which is where my the place that we stopped collecting data, right? That's the highest sales date. That would be the maximum value in my sales date. Close this bracket, comma, let it be comma, let it be 1. If not, else let it be 0. And then I'm going to close that bracket. And if I scroll all the way to 2018, where you have November, December, October, November, December, you're going to be seeing zeros there. And what I'm going to do is to apply that sales date only to my entire report. And I'm going to come here to my filters and bring that sales date only, bring it to my filter to filter this page, bring it here, and then I'm going to use advanced filtering when is 1, because that is when my complete data is, right? And I'll do apply filter. And once I do that, I'm just going to hide this and lock it so it's not visible. Let's see, advanced. Okay, that didn't work. Advanced filtering is 1. Apply filter. Okay, it worked now. Okay, I mistakenly cleared it initially. Okay, now you can see that this has actually reflected, right? We have the sales date reflecting for when the data was completed for that entire month, which is what we did when we filtered for this table. Then that we removed our October, November, and December. So we can see that we are making, like, there's a positive difference, right? Like there's growth there. So let me remove this table back again. So now that we have done for our revenue, we're going to replicate this thing for profit. And so what I'm just going to be doing for my profit, like we want to find our year-to-date profit. Meanwhile, before I proceed, please, any question at all? Any question? One thing I want you to know is that it might be difficult to follow through now, but something you can always do is go back to the recordings, right? To look at the recordings and every process that we took. So is there any question at all? Is everybody following?
Yes, I'm following.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm following.
Okay, cool. So let's replicate the same thing we have done for our revenue, for our profit. So we want to find the year-to-date profits and the year-on-year difference for our profit. So what I'm just going to do is to copy my year-to-date revenue that I have here. I'll just copy the formula written here, but I'm going to replace it with profit, right? So I'm going to do my Control C, come here, create a new measure. And then I do my Control V. And instead of total revenue here, what we want to do is our total profit, right? So I'm going to change revenue to profits. So just the same formula, but this time around for profits. Oh, sorry, I didn't rename this. So I have to rename my title as well. Profits, yeah. And we've done our YTD profit, right? If I bring this here, we can see our YTD profit over here as a card visual. And I'm going to also have to format all this so that we have this as the right currency, right? We're going to deal with that. Let's also look for our previous year to date of our profit, right? So I'm just going to copy this, what we already have for our revenue, do a new measure, and then instead of previous YTD, we're doing previous YTD of profit, right? And then I'm changing revenue to profits. I also have my previous YTD yet, and then we'll do for the difference now. Let's find out the difference. Okay, so what we're going to do is Control C and a new measure. I want to do Control V. So what we're trying to do now is change this one to profit instead of revenue. We're changing everything revenue to profit. Also, yeah, we're changing to profit as well. Okay, cool. Now we've done the same thing for our um profit, right? We figured out the year-over-year difference of our profit, and if I bring that here, I'm going to also change this to select it and change this to percentage. We're going to be formatting our figures to, well, for now, let's continue doing our analysis. Now, when you're analyzing data, when you're building a dashboard, right, you're going to be doing all this rough analysis before you like do your report design, your report creation, and everything. So for now, we're focusing on the analysis, right, like the important information um and everything. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to try to, let's say this particular company now has a target, right? Let's say maybe a target of 8.5 million. We're going to figure out that target. We're also going to figure out like how they are meeting towards, we're going to create that target. We're going to figure out if they are meeting towards their targets. But meanwhile, let's do time series analysis, right? We want to figure out the total revenue they are making, like the revenue trend and the profit trend across the months, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a new page. So add a new page, you just press your plus, and what you want to do is to bring in your bring in a line chart. When you're performing time series analysis, you make use of a line chart, right? So what we want to bring in is our total revenue, which is our Y to date revenue. I'm going to bring in the year to date revenue, and I'm going to bring in the months. So I don't want this to, I want us to be able to see like, okay, how much we made in 2017 and how much we made in 2018. So I'm just going to add a legend here with the year column. Okay, this is for the profits. Year-to-date revenue. Sorry, give me a moment. I want to check to be sure that. Okay, let's see. Total revenue. Okay. Okay, let's okay, I'm using my total revenue in this case, right? I'm looking at the trends like for our total revenue in 2017 and our total revenue in 2018, right? That's what we want to look at here. Now we can see that both of these line charts, they follow a similar trend, right? There's something happening in March, there's something happening in July as well. And then when you look at your August, there's something happening. There's kind of like a dip, right, in both years. So that is something that might call for like, okay, what, maybe did they do any promo? Is there something that's, are there maybe like, I mean, maybe it's a rainy season and people don't actually patronize the products that much and something like that. You might want to do all of those kind of, you might want to do that analysis, right? Okay, so we don't take a lot of time. um Something we can now try to answer most of the questions we want to try to answer. If we go back to our spreadsheet, right, they asked us to answer like, okay, what product categories are driving the biggest profits, and if it is the same across store locations, and then seasonal trends or patterns, which is what we have done here, right? And then something we can also try to figure out now, let's do find out the products that they are selling the most, which is kind of like just saying our top 5 products, right? So I'm going to come over to my products table. First of all, I want to bring in a bar chart here, right? And then I'm going to select my products, product name, and I want to use my profits, right? Total profits. I don't want to see all the products. I just want to see the top 5 that they are making the most profits on, right? Now, instead of using our total profit, we're going to use our year-to-date profit so that we are seeing a clear this thing. Because if you look at your total profit, is going to give you like both in your total profit in 2018 and your total profit for the entire data set, right? But we want to have a clear focus, which we are focusing on like this year, which is like probably the reporting year, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just switch this to my year-to-date profit, and I'm going to do a top 5 of this particular product name. So what I want to do is come to my product name. My filter type should be top N, and I want to select top 5, and I'm bringing in my YTD profits. I'm filtering by my YTD profit, and I'm going to apply that filter, and this is at the top 5 products we are making.
Please give me a second. Let me plug my system. Please, any questions so far?
No questions.
Okay. I don't know if my laptop will be able to last, because I wanted to be able to create a like the entire report, like a mock-up on how this is supposed to look like and how we're going to arrange this. I'm going to plug my laptop in a bit, but I think I will just carry on with some of the analysis I want us to get. So another thing I want us to do is to get like the stores that are generating the most profit, right? So the store locations that we're generating the most profit, the store name as well. So I'm going to create a new page. I want to click on the store name, and then my year-to-date profit. I'm going to change that to a bar chart as well. And the same thing I did for this, I just want to see the top 5 stores, right? So I'm going to do my basic filtering, top N, and see the top 5 stores by profits. So I want to see the bottom. Let's find out the bottom 5 this thing. So I'm just going to do Control C and Control V to replicate that. But instead of top 5 this time around, what we want to select is bottom. So instead of top, I'm selecting my bottom, and I'm going to do apply filter, right? And instead of, because since it's the bottom 5, we want to see it from like highest to from the lowest to the highest, right? So I'm going to do this, sort as is, and sort it ascending. So we are seeing from the lowest store that we're making the list to the highest. We're going to be doing a whole lot of formatting on this particular visual. So in case I go off, please just give me a moment. I'll join back. I'm just trying to get the lights on. Okay. Now we've gotten our product store, like the store name. Let's find out the location we are making the most profit, right? And we're going to bring our store location and our total and our year-to-date profit. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to switch this to a bar chart as well. And these are the stores that we're making the most sales from, right?
and we're going to format our visual, our figures and everything. So see, have that at the back of your mind. Control C and Control V to find the bottom 5, and so instead of we're going to do our top n here, and we want to find the bottom. Okay, so meaning we only have these 4 tables. So if you look at where I'll just have these 4 tables, so there's no need doing this store location again. Store location, right? So what we can, the last thing we can try to do here is to find the store city where we're making the most sales. So I'm going to do my Control C and Control V again. So if you notice, we are using the profit, right? Where is generating more money? We can be making the most sales here, but are we making more profits in that particular place? No. So I'm going to change this from my store location to store city. And what we want to see is like the top 5 cities, right? So I'm going to change this from basic filtering to top N and select my top 5, put in my profits and apply that filter. And then I will do that to find the bottom 5. So in this place, instead of top, I'll just switch this to bottom and apply filter, and then sort ascending. Okay, now that we've gotten most of this analysis, we found out our top selling products and all of that, I think we're going to try to start like building our dashboard, or trying to like create a wireframe of how we want our dashboard to look like. But before I do that, I'm going to change all these figures to have the okay. Now let's create a new page that is going to house all of our reports. And for this particular page, we are going to try to like format our canvas, like select a size that we want to use for our report. And to do that, we're going to format our report page, right? And go to our canvas settings, and instead of 16:9, we're going to select custom. And what I want to do right now is to change the height to, I'm just going to switch this over, maybe go for a 1440 by 2860. Or 2000. I can always change it anyhow if I need more space, right? So now we're going to try to bring in shapes the way we want to align these reports. Please, is everybody still following me? Are we still together? Are we still together? Okay, cool.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, what we're going to do now is to try to insert shapes how we want to position our dashboard. So I'm going to go to insert, bring in shapes. I'm going to just select this rounded rectangle, and I want to draw this down. Do a Control C and Control V, and just place this up here. Okay, now I'm going to create on multiple shapes how I want to position it, right? Creating the first one. what I'm doing now is what we call like building a wireframe for your reports. It would help you know how to position what you want to do. So this can be for my important numbers, right? So I'm putting Control C, Control V, then I'm going to align this here. Okay, we can always arrange this better. Can always arrange this better before we finish building our report. Okay, now this can house another visual. Another one again. Okay, now I can increase the size of my report. Okay, now that we have this arranged like this, I can always add more this thing. You already get like a mental picture of how you want this dashboard to look like, right? So you can know that this place, you have your title, you can have important numbers here and just like that. So what we're going to try to do is bring in these particular numbers or this analysis that we've done in these previous pages on this report. So I'm going to try to bring in the year-to-date revenue and previous year-to-date profits, year-to-date revenue, year-over-year difference, and the rest of that. So I'm going to bring in this one first, which is our YTD revenue. Meanwhile, I'm going to change my background on this particular visual. So I'm going to go to my canvas background, and I don't want it to be white. I want to choose a gray color. Okay. Okay, so let's bring in the first one, which is our year to date. So I'm just going to do Control C and Control V. And then we're going to format this visual, right? I want to come here. I don't want it to show this. I want it to show as the particular figure in itself, not abbreviated. I want to see the entire figure. So I'm going to click on none. And for the decimal number, I'm going to click on 0. I can also increase this to like 50. Well, let me say 55. Okay, that's better. Then I can turn off the label and then just name it, add a title, and call this revenue. Now for my shape, I can decide to want to remove. Okay, let's finish replacing all these things, then we can talk about the shapes. So revenue, I want to change this instead of DIN, the font, to Sego UI. And then maybe place that in the center. Okay, now we have our revenue. So something we can decide to do now is to bring our our year over year difference and maybe previous year underneath this. Now, how do we do that? How do we add it so that we have it underneath here instead of putting it on a different distance? So anybody seeing the revenue can clearly tell, okay, this is the year over year difference and everything. I'm going to bring in a text box. And what I want to do is to add that value right under here. So I'm going to click on value. And what I want to bring in is my YOY difference. You won't tell me how do you want to calculate this value. So I'm just going to tell it my YOY difference and click on enter. Okay, sorry, it's capital Y. And then you can see that it has brought out that value here, right? Which is the okay, this is not the accurate one. It's bringing for the entire this thing. I have to check that it's applied on this page. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I was supposed to apply this filter on all pages, not on just one page. So I'm going to change that here. So I'm applying the filter to all pages, not just one particular page. Okay, I'll take that process again. Insert my test box, and instead of typing what I want a value, right? So, okay, I think that should be here already. I've done it already. Okay, look at it here. I'm going to increase the font. Let me just take the process again so that everybody is clear. So what I did was I inserted a text box, I added a new value, and what we want to get add is our year on year difference, right? Year on year difference, and save. Control A. Let me make that big so that it's visible for everybody. Now you can see that you can see the 30 here. So what I'm just going to do is to come over here and add so that we know that that is our year on year difference or percentage growth. So I'm just going to bring this and place it under here. So something I can also add to this is maybe add the I can also add the previous year, right? Like so that we can just see the previous year. So let me say previous year and then value. I'm putting my previous year to date, save, and then I'm just going to enlarge this here. I don't want to see the decimal number in front. Okay. Okay, I've just formatted that and I've added, so we have our revenue, we have our previous year. I want to take out the 0. Okay, yes. We have our previous year and we also have our year on year. I'm going to make this 1 decimal place instead of 2. That's for our year over year difference. So what I'm going to do is try to group this and this together. Now to group, I'm going to select both visuals and just come to my format and group them. So I have that here for my revenue, and I'm going to do the same thing I did here for profit, right? So I come over here, bring my profits, Control C, and bring it here, Control V. So one way to easily format your visual when you've done this thing is to just click on your format painter and apply that paintbrush to the data. So I'm going to name this my profits. So I just want to come here and rename this to profits. Profits. I think we have 30 minutes. We can finish before then. Okay. So please, are we all together? Are we together?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're going to bring in our previous year for the profit and our year-on-year difference as well. So what we want to do is the same process. Go to your insert, bring in a text box, and what you want to do is click on value, right? So you click on value, and once you click on value, what we want to do is our previous year for profits, and we have that here, and I'm just going to save that, do my Control A so I can increase the size a bit to 20. Also put a title to it so that we know it's our previous year. And then I'll just demarcate it to this, put a space, and find my year-on-year difference as well. So to do that, I'm just going to add a new value again and do year-on-year difference profit and click on save, just to be sure everything is the same size. And I'm just going to move that underneath the profit. So same thing we did for our revenue, right? So I'm just going to come here and put that under here and drag that to the end. Okay. I mentioned something, right? Say, for example, we have, okay, let me put this thing in the middle as well. Okay, say, for example, we have a situation where we had a target, right? And we want to find out, like, if we are even meeting our target. So I'm going to create a new measure here. New measure that I'm going to call, target. And let's say our target is $8.5 million, right? We have 1 million. Let's just say let's say it's okay, this is 3 zeros. Our target is $8.5 million, right? That's what we say we want to make in the year. Now we can check for our percentage difference, like, okay, what's our progress towards that our goal, right? How what's the percentage difference? Are we close to our target, or are we not actually close to that target? So we're going to calculate that by writing a new measure as well, that we're going to call progress towards targets. And to calculate that, we're going to divide our year-to-date revenue, YTD revenue, divided by our targets. And I'm going to click on enter and change that to percentage. Okay, so let's bring our target on a card visual as well. So I'm going to bring in a new card here and click on targets. So let me bring that up here, and I want to format that. Format printer, put this here. I'm grouping this just as I grouped that of the revenue, right? I'm just going to adjust that a bit. So we can have space for this one as well. Now this is our target figure, right? And then I'm going to put the title there. What we want to call this our targets. Now, and we're going to bring in our progress towards targets as well. So let's insert a text box, value, and we bring in our progress towards targets, and then so I'm just going to increase the size of this to 20 again and call this progress towards targets. Okay. I can bring this underneath this one as well. Okay, now we've brought our revenue, profits, and target. So let's try to bring in other of our visuals that we have there, other analysis that we've carried out. So let's bring in our trend analysis, right? Bring this in, Control C. Let me just copy everything, Control A, Control C, and then Control V. So in this particular place, I can have my um, sales analysis, right? So I can see that particular trend here. We're going to be doing a lot of formatting so we can increase the size of our visuals and everything. But first of all, let's get every one of them in position. Now let's look at our product name, our the products we are selling. Okay, this is profits by product name, right? Okay, let's also find the profits by category. That's another thing we can get. Profits by category. So I'm going to do a Control C, Control V. Let's have this here. Let's find out the categories we are selling the most. So in this particular one, I can switch from this to product name. Yeah. Okay. Then I can go to my store analysis, bring in the store name and also the city. So okay, for now let's just let me delete. You can take this analysis further and add other information, right? For now, let me just remove the bottom analysis we did here and focus on the store name, store location, and store city. So I'm going to bring this dashboards here, or these visuals rather here. We have one, and we have these two here. Okay, now time to arrange all these things and make it take shape, right? Let's start from inserting a title. We need to give our dashboard title, right? So I'm just going to call this Maven Toys sales dashboard, right? That's what I'm just going to name this. So I'm going to bring in a text box here and start typing Maven Toys sales dashboard. Okay. Any question? Any question from anybody?
No question.
Okay. So I think we have like 15 minutes left. I want to see how quick I can go through the dashboard design and then before we call it a day. So when it comes to choosing colors, and we still have to rename all these things, right? So let me start with the line charts, and I'm just going to rename this to monthly trend or across the years. Yeah, so just our monthly revenue trend. Monthly revenue trend. Okay. Then for our products, this one is our profits by product category, right? And for this is our top 5 products. That's top 5 best-selling products by profit. So top 5 products by profits. And this one is our profits by store. Now, this is our top 5 locations by profits. And top 5 cities by profits. Okay, something we are going to do is to add data labels to this visual, because anybody looking at this cannot easily read this, right? We need to format to add our data labels and also take away some of the clutter that we have here, right? This already tells us that this is the profits by products category. We don't need all these profits again category. So we're going to turn that off. First of all, I'm going to go and turn my data labels on. And just increase the value a bit. So I'm going to come here, increase my title as well. Okay, this is better. Change this to Shego. It's good when you're analyzing and you have all of your font size uniform. So some are not bold, some are not tiny, so you have it very uniform. Is actually a good practice when working with data. So now what I'm going to do is to turn off the X and Y axis, increase this a bit to say 14. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn off the title. Go to my X axis, turn off the title. So what I'm going to do now is the changes I've made here, I will apply it on every other bar chart. So I'm just going to do this here. Format painter, put this here. Format here. Okay, I didn't turn off the X axis entirely. There's no need having these values here. This is part of what we call decluttering. Like it's making your visual too noisy. So I'll just turn that off. Okay, now that we have successfully, I'm going to increase the title for this one as well. I think I'm sticking with 20 and Shego UI. Let me increase the legend as well. So what we're just trying to do right now is formatting your visual. Like, we've done all the analysis. It's just you trying to make it presentable, right? Now we're not focused on, trying to, okay, how am I going to do this one? Now, 'cause we already have all the things we want to put. It's just basically trying to like clean them up so that we have them looking like easily readable and not this thing. So I'm going to turn off this title and just increase the text to a bit. Okay, the 14. Okay, I want to change this to 1000 on this chart. Better. Okay, now to for when it comes to selecting colors, there are certain sites I like to make use of, and one of those sites is colorhunt colorhunt.co. Now on colorhunt.co, you're going to see different color palettes that you can use for your dashboards. Like if you're very bad with colors, right? This is where you can come to get color idea. And I'm just going to go for this palette here and select this. And what I'm going to try to do is put it as my theme. So I'm going to go to my view, come over here, and then scroll all the way to the end and do customize current theme. And then the color one, I'm going to change it to that color I copied, that X code. I'm just do my Control A, Control V, and apply that, right? And then I'll go back to that same place, pick the second closest color, or maybe anyone lighter, right? Pick that one, copy, come back to my theme, select customize, go to color 2, Control A, and do my Control V and press my okay. Now that we've done that, okay, I'm seeing that the contrast is not too much, so I want something that so I'll be able to differentiate very well. I'm going to go back to that site and pick a much lighter one. So let me go with this one that's way lighter and go back to my Power BI, customize theme, and just instead of that one, Control A, and on my X code, right? Control A, Control V, and do my apply. This is better. Now we can see the difference clearly. Okay, now another thing, you might want to use like icons, right, to make this much more this thing. Let's say maybe this company has a logo and you want to put that logo somewhere around the corner. One other site I make use of, so you can take note of all these sites. The first one is colorhunt.co. This one is flat icon, right? You can download any icon of your choice that you want to use. So I'm just going to search like a toy shape. So let me see what comes out for our toy, and I'll pick, okay, let me just pick this one, right? And I'm going to download it. So you want to download as PNG and free download. Now that has successfully downloaded, I'll go to my Power BI and do insert shape, insert image rather. insert image, and I'm going to select that image I just downloaded now and click on open. And then you have that here. Oh, because this is black, I want to change this to white, right? I'll go back to my the to flat icon, select that image and edit it so that it is, instead of black, I'm going to select a new color, choose a new color, and I'm going to choose white. And then download. I'm going to remove this and try to bring in the new one again. So insert image, open, and then I'm just going to shift that to this corner here, right? So something I want to do is try to remove the background from all these reports I've created here now. So on this particular place, I'm going to remove the background of my title. So how do I do that? I'm going to go to my effects and close the background. I can see my title is not so visible, so I'm going to change the font to, instead of black, I'm going to change it to white. And also increase it so that it's a bit more pronounced. Okay. Now let's move to our next one. So what I want to do here is, instead of having this filled space, right, I'm going to remove the background of these shapes as well. So instead of fill, I'm going to turn that fill off, so we just have only the um shape there. Or we can decide to remove all of our shapes, since what we want is our the figures, right? Or you can leave your shapes and just remove the background from all this. So I can come here, go to my general effects, turn off the background, do the same thing here, effects, I turn off the background. Okay, let me change the background to white. I think this is a bit too moody. Okay, this is better. And then I'll do the same thing for all these ones I have here. Hmm?
You don't finish.
No, no, sir. Yeah, it's fine. Turn the background for this, and also turn the background for this. Then for our shape, we're doing the same thing. We're turning off the background. We're changing the fill. We're turning off the fill version, so it's not filled, right? I'm going to format, do the same thing here. Format, do the same thing for all my shapes. Something I'm going to do here is to try to turn off these grid lines. When you are building your dashboard, grid lines make it somewhat harsh, right? So that it's just plain. So I've turned that off. Okay, good. So for our last one, I'm just going to try to create two shapes instead of splitting them one after the other, right? In your own time, you can try to like take your time to go through this one after the other. So I'm just trying to because I think we have, please, any question. I think we have just 3 minutes left, and I don't want to take any more time than any questions at all. But yeah, this is what you're going to end up with. You can see that from all every scattered this thing, we ended up with like something very reasonable, right? So in your own time, you can just try to arrange everything, because it's very important everything is arranged. And something you can use to do that, like in this case now, I'm going to highlight these three charts, use my format, and do align and distribute them horizontally, so that sorry, vertically rather. Oh god, it's not going to do. Control C. Okay. Okay, I selected this one. That's it. Format, align, and distribute. Okay, now it worked. Distribute horizontally. I'm going to do the same thing for this chart over here, or the shapes. So we have everything in the center. Please, any question? Now, once you finish building your dashboard, right, the next thing you want to go ahead and do is start exploring and start writing your observations, that's your insights, and then give recommendations on based on what you've discovered from your insight, right? Now, if I want to export this dashboard, I can either publish to the Power BI service, where my dashboard is going to be live and interactive, or export this dashboard as a CSV file. Now, how do I do that? I come to my file, do export, and then I export to PDF. Oh shit. I forgot to delete the initial page. So let me just hide this, because it's going to export every other the rough analysis, and we don't want to see that. What we want to see is our main report. I'm just going to hide all this and export again. And voila, we have our report here, right? And see, there's still some kind of adjustments we need to make here and everything, but this is how a perfect sample of how your report is going to look like. You can also turn off the title here, so that it's neat enough. So please, any questions? Yeah, Emmanuel, please go ahead.
So when you don't do them horizontally, I mean when you don't arrange them horizontally, will it affect anything, or it's
Okay,
just your personal preference?
it's the idea is to make your reports like very neat and readable as possible. So it will not be like say for example, now let me use this one I exported now. If you notice something about this line and this line, they are not on the same, it looks somehow, right? It looks like it doesn't look presentable or neat enough, right? You have to be able to do your reports in a way that is neat. It's not like maybe it affects your analysis, but the essence of data visualization is having to make everything like neat and appeasing for your audience or whoever is going to look at it, right? When I'm building a dashboard, right, I always imagine, what do I want my audience to think of when they see my reports? right? And for me, I want to give them that wow factor. Like you're seeing the report and then you're going, wow. And if probably I do analysis and then you are seeing the alignment is not correct and everything, you are not even going to be want to like you it's not going to be neat enough for you, or you might not even be carried, or you won't want to be carried along through the story or want to see anything through that entire story at all. So it's just important that you when it comes to layout, I said something about layout, right? When I was going through the slides, you align your visuals properly. I don't know if this answers your question.
Yes, and then I think this would be my last question.
Okay.
Do you have any clean sheet file, or let me say a file that we can read to know the format and the formulas to use when we are analyzing our data?
Okay.
Because
So when it comes to analyzing your data, right? As I said, I mentioned something that depends on the industry. The way I analyze this sales data will be different from when I'm analyzing something that has to do with marketing analytics. Say I'm doing something that has to do with conversion rates, bounce rates, like I'm doing something relating to marketing analytics, right? It's going to be totally different because there are different KPIs. I might not be calculating total revenue there. Maybe I might just be calculating like total sessions, total people that visited our websites, and all those things, right? So it's a different calculation entirely. But one thing that we are so lucky, like in fact, I say something like the future is bright for data analysts, right? And we are lucky to be in a time where we are privy to tools such as ChatGPT, BARD, and all these AIs that helps us to support our analysis. If you get a data set, for example, and you want to start building your visualization, something you can do is to copy your columns, take it to chat gpt. I have these columns of data, I want to analyze this thing, generate questions for me. It does that. You can also say generate the dax calculation I will need to answer this question. You will see all the list of dax, all the list of calculations that you will need. Another thing, in Power BI, you also have like these quick measures. There's some sort of like co-pilots, like AI. You just tell Power BI, this is what I want to calculate. I want to calculate the total revenue, and it generates that DAX calculation for you. But one thing is that you need to understand DAX to be able to use it, so you don't use the wrong DAX, because um ChatGPT might not understand what you're trying to achieve. You might tell it the logic, but it might not understand it. It's you that will now decide to like edit and know that okay, this is how I want to position it. So I wouldn't say there's a but something I can share is the DAX reference, right? That contains all the list of functions and everything that you might be working with in DAX, but there's no list of like the calculations, no documentation for the calculations you might need to want to perform when you're dealing with this thing. Like I said, it depends on your objective, right? It might be something else. Like this particular objective, we're focusing on sales and profit. Somebody might do the same, analyze the same data and focus on order and customer, order and store. Like it depends on your objective. I don't know if that answers your question.
yes, that do. Sorry, I just had another question.
Oh, please feel free.
Okay. In cases we would want to contact you just for maybe assistance on certain things, is there any other platform that we can do that?
Yeah, sure. If you check the slides, you can find my LinkedIn and my Twitter in that place. So you can always reach out to me on Twitter, tweet at me. I'm super active on Twitter actually. So you can tweet at me or send me a DM. Sure, I'll be glad to respond. So even if at any point in time you're going through these recordings and you have any questions at all, please feel free to look at the slides. Maybe I would share that to Faith again so she can share in probably the Slack or the general group where you guys are in, so everybody has access to that. But I'm sure by now everybody has that the link to that drive. It contains the slides as well as the data sets that we use for this thing. Something I can also do is maybe add this PBIX to that document as well, so you can always look through it. I
All
hope
right,
this
thank
helps.
you. Yes, please.
Okay, all right. Any other question from anybody? Then we can just call it a day. Okay, in the absence of no question, I think we are 7 minutes ahead of our time. So thank you very much, everybody. I apologize for the pauses in between and everything, but please, I would like to plead with everybody, go through the recordings. I'm sure you'll pick something from it. And data visualization is actually very, very easy as long as you've thought about your content first before thinking about your color, your design, and everything. So it was really nice being a part of this. So please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter and on LinkedIn. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Okay,
Bye.
before you
Thank you
leave,
very much.
before you leave, we want to say a big thank you for your services. You've been a great teacher to us, and we really appreciate your efforts and guidance today. God bless you so much. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.